Okay, so Phil was telling me that he likes questions, and we didn't take questions so far, except on Hangouts. So if you would like to have questions, we'll do maximum number of questions today. We will have two hostesses here in each alley, and if you can just line behind them, we'll open to the floor in a few minutes, just starting to talk, and then whatever you want to ask Phil. That's what's cool about Phil. So I really like to do this. Who uses Evernote? And there's more upstairs, of course. But you're used to that, Phil, right?
No, it never gets old. It's always nice.
What an amazing product. Thanks for joining us again.
Thank you so much.
You have so there's a tradition at LeWeb that Phil shares numbers and news before showing them to the board, right?
Yes.
At LeWeb.
Usually inadvertently, but yes. So I had a board meeting this past Friday, and I tried really hard to get some important analysis done for it, and I didn't get it finished until just this morning. So show it here first.
And just as a detail, if you want to ask a question and you're sitting up there, you need to go down because the mics are downstairs. Sorry about that. Phil, give me the latest about Evernote, the stats.
Sure. So the main idea is there's been a lot of talk in the past couple of weeks, largely starting because of Facebook, that it's difficult to monetize mobile. Right? So the idea is that mobile hurts before it helps. You can get a lot of users, but it's tough to make money on it. And I think that's kind of overblown. So I went back and looked at our stats to try to figure out, well, how are we making money on different platforms? And I've got some of them here.
That's something that most developers wonder about.
Yeah. So we are fortunate enough to have users on just about every platform. So I think we have a good collection of cross-platform stats, which will hopefully be useful to people. So at a highest level, we have about 34 million users right now, and that's that's organic word of mouth, very little, no advertising, very little marketing, all that kind of stuff. 34 million across all different platforms.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What was it last year?
Well, at the last LeWeb in Paris, 6 months ago, we announced it was 20.
Oh, so you almost doubled in 6 months?
Yeah, so we're gonna more than double in the year. And I think what's a little bit unique about us, but what I'm really trying to encourage other developers to do is we have a very direct revenue model. So we don't try to monetize users' behavior or data. We just make money from people. So we only make money if people love the product so much that they want to pay us, even though they can use it for free and they never have to pay. So it's a direct monetization. So we're not selling the apps, we're not selling advertisement. It's a totally free service, but if you really love it, there's things you can pay money for.
What's the conversion rate between free and paid?
Well, we have about 34 million users and about like 1.3 or so million paid users.
Is that 4%?
Something around 4%, but really it gets, as we kind of discussed in the previous LeWeb sessions, it goes up with time. So the longer you use it, the more likely you are to convert. So our oldest users, the ones that have been with us for about 4.5 years, are about 25% converted. The newest ones are less than 1% or so. So the more you stick with it, the more profitable it becomes.
I'm sorry, keep going. This is really interesting on the mobile revenue.
So this is our average revenue per user per year on each platform. So this is average across all users. Obviously, most of them are free, and all the money comes from premium users, so we averaged it across all users per platform. And this is what we see. So on mobile, Android is $1.06. So we make $1.06, even though it's a free app, we make $1.06 per year on average on every mobile user. And that's pretty good. I was pretty happy with that. Windows Phone is $1.44. So there's many fewer Windows Phone users, of course, but they pay a little bit more.
Microsoft will love that.
iPhone is $1.79. So we make $1.79 a year on average on an iPhone user. And that gap between Android and iPhone isn't that big. I mean, iPhone is more profitable. But a lot of people report a much bigger gap. And I think that's because they're either trying to do advertising on Android or they're trying to sell paid apps. And that is much more difficult. But since we're not doing that, all of our revenue comes from engagement. Android is actually not that much lower than iPhone.
Are those like in-app purchase?
No, this is sort of total of everything. Not so much where you bought it from, but what platform did you use?
If you paid, what do you use?
That's right. What are you using? And most people use more than one platform, so this is sort of allocated to each platform. And then BlackBerry is $2.01. So there's very few BlackBerry users, but they do pay. So they are profitable per user. And iPad is the best. iPad is $2.18. So iPad users are significantly more profitable than the average mobile user, and there's a lot of them. So it's actually a great platform for us. So that's it on mobile. And on desktop, it gets even more interesting. So the users who use us on the web from a desktop, just a desktop browser, they're $1.81. So a little bit higher than Android. They're just using us on the web. But people who download our native Windows client are significantly more profitable for us. They make $233. And the Mac client is the most profitable, so that's $316. So a Mac user makes, on average, we make about $3.16 a year from a Mac user. So between Mac, iPhone, and iPad, the Apple platform is the Apple users are the most valuable.
So is that where you put the most efforts, or not really?
It's about half and half, because we're sort of projecting, future profitability. So I would say about half of our effort goes into Apple, and about half goes into everything else put together.
Steve would like to see those numbers, I'm sure. We'd be happy about them. Yeah.
But then what's really cool is the other apps. So Evernote is a platform, so we have the core Evernote service, and then we have other apps that give you a specific, more engaged, beautiful experience. So we launched 2 at LeWeb 6 months ago. We launched Evernote Food and Evernote Hello. And then we have Skitch, which is an app that we acquired. And those are far more profitable. So Evernote Food, an average Evernote Food user makes us $6.73 a year, just because they're more engaged.
Remind us, what is Evernote Food?
So Evernote Food is an app to remember all of your food experiences. So it all goes into Evernote, but every time you go out to eat or you want to cook something, it just gives you a really beautiful UX around eating. So what we found is, if we give someone something that's really engaging, that's more beautiful, a smaller number of people will use it, because only foodies in this case, well, me mostly, because everything we make at Evernote we make for me. But it's a higher engagement that directly translates into more money. And then Skitch is $8.44 a year, and Evernote Hello, the app that helps you remember people, is $9.22 a year. So if you look at the spread between, say, Android, which is sort of the mass market, easiest entry-level platform, and something like Hello, it's 9-1. But then the coolest thing is we have about 12,000 third-party developers in our API, and
you launched that last year, right?
I think almost 2 years ago now.
Yep.
But yeah, last year I got really serious. The trunk, yeah, the Evernote trunk, because it's a crushingly clever name that no one gets, but so be it.
Well, if you say so.
The 10 most popular API apps, most popular by usage, not by revenue, is $9.53 a year. So the more one of our users is engaged, the more they use one of our apps or a third-party app, the more valuable they are. And so this API program is super valuable to us, just because it's direct revenue. So what we're basically seeing, kind of in the conclusions, is so 75% of all of our new users come from mobile, because that's where the discovery is the best. So they find us on the App Store. So 75% are coming from mobile, and only 25% come from desktop users. But about 45% of people eventually use the desktop. So they start on mobile, and then they go to the desktop, which means that mobile, kind of unlike, I think, what people have been saying, for us at least, it's profitable by itself, although less so than the desktop versions, but it's also the biggest originating source of revenue on the desktop. So it's sort of, mobile doesn't hurt before it helps. It helps, and then it helps a bunch more later. So it's been a really great experience for us. And we do have our second annual developer competition, which is at dev.evernote.com. And if there are any developers in the audience, definitely check it out. You've got a few more weeks to enter, and we're giving away $100,000 in prizes and all sorts of really cool stuff in San Francisco for developers.
And before I keep going, do you have any question? Please raise your hand. So there's one here. And again, if you're upstairs, you want to ask questions, you need to come downstairs. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, Carlo De Marchis from Italy. I was totally intrigued last December in Paris when you announced the Hello and Food, because you had the strategy of desktop is one app, and I go vertical on mobile. Is it going well apart from this number, and you think this may become a trend for other companies to follow?
Yeah, it's definitely going well for us, and the whole idea with the other apps is we want to give people as many ways to engage with Evernote as possible. So we want to have the general platform, which is really multi-purpose. You can use it for everything. And then specific, beautiful experiences around information-rich areas in your life. And what we find is, just as these stats show, the more people use them, the more they want to pay. So Evernote's business model, right, it's based on how much people love the product. So we never force anyone to pay. We don't have any paywalls. We want people to use it for free, but then when they get addicted to it, then they start looking for things to buy. And the more they use things like Food and Hello and third-party partner apps, the more stuff they do, the faster they fall in love with it, and the more profitable it is. So yeah, so that strategy, which was kind of a big gamble for us, so far is paying off really well.
Our question here, right there. And then I'll go to this side.
Hi, my name is Adam Beglin from Sensor.net. I had a question about the in-app purchases. You guys don't do in-app purchases, but I thought that if you had a subscription model on iOS, you had to pay 30% even if it wasn't an in-app purchase. That must not be true then.
We do in-app purchases, yeah. So our philosophy is to always let users buy the easiest way that they can. So we do have in-app purchase on iOS. We actually just launched it on the Mac. We have it on Android. We also have it outside the app. So we don't begrudge Apple their 30%. In fact, I would rather have more people buy through in-app purchase than direct credit card because it's more frictionless for them.
Okay,
so
but it's possible to sell through the credit card and then use the iOS device even though I purchased it, say, on the desktop.
It's possible. Yeah, well, since you have an Evernote account, so it is possible to do both. But if you want to buy from the phone, by far the easiest way to do it is to do it in-app. Yes. And so that we support that, and we want people to use it. If you're buying it when you're not on your phone, then you can go to the website and do it.
I see.
But what I found is like people complain that the in-app stuff is really expensive, and it is. But what you're not taking into consideration is the massive amounts of free marketing you get. Right. So for that 30% that Apple takes, yeah, that's expensive compared to a credit card, which is like 4 or 5%, sure. But you get massive placement and marketing and discoverability because you're on the App Store. So that 30% isn't just, you shouldn't think of it as just your transaction charge. You should think of it as your transaction charge plus all of your logistics and marketing, which is huge. So we're happy to give it to Apple and to Google and to anyone else who does that.
You don't have to give them the 30% from the desktop or the credit card charges.
We don't, that's right.
Just because, so if I buy it on the desktop, I can still use it on my phone and you guys don't get the...
That's right, yeah, but we don't try to optimize for that. We're not trying to save that 30%.
No, I understand. Okay, thanks.
Okay, next question here. Can you stand up and introduce yourself?
Hi, Alim from Paris. I was wondering if you had any stats for Evernote Hello and Evernote Food, if the people using these apps are actually coming from the Evernote's ecosystem, or if it's just like they ran into the app and downloaded it. And this echoes sort of a bigger question. Are people just using Evernote to centralize contacts, info, their passion, etc.? Because if it is the case, and if Google, say, just offers a more global solution or a more holistic solution, people could just, port from Evernote to Google, and it would become their storage for everything. Thanks.
Yeah, so most people, so the different apps we have really vary depending on how many new users they bring versus existing users. So we have, we have Food and Hello and Sketch, and then we just acquired Penultimate, and we have Clearly, and so
Sketch on the notes on the iPad.
Yeah,
that makes sense,
Penultimate,
right?
yeah, that's the best-selling handwriting app on the iPad. And so some of those bring in a lot of new users that don't know Evernote. For example, most Penultimate people weren't using Evernote, so that's all new users. Same with Sketch. But some like Food and Hello are really they mostly come from Evernote and start using those. So those really vary depending on the types. In terms of people are using Evernote. Well, it's supposed to be your external brain. So it's supposed to make you smarter. So everything that you want to remember and you want to make decisions about is in Evernote. And one of our new investors had this great line, which I like to repeat back to him as often as possible, which is he said, "I want using Evernote to feel like it's completing my thoughts." So Evernote is not about storage. It's not just storing things. That's kind of a very minor component. It's really about the intelligence of tying everything together and making it available at your fingertips. It's about making you smarter. In terms of what competitors do, we really don't know. We don't focus on it. I think we're living pretty much in a geek meritocracy right now. So you don't Evernote is my third company, and when I had my first two software companies, we always had to worry about competition, and you have to worry about, well, what if a big company comes along and they undercut our price? Well, you can't do that for us, right? You're not going to beat Evernote by being cheaper than us because we're already free. And we used to worry about, well, if a big company comes around and they just outspend us on marketing. Well, you can't really do that because just naked marketing dollars don't get you anything because it's all word of mouth now anyway. So we don't have to worry about a big company just sort of muscling us out. We only have to worry about someone making a fundamentally better product than us. And our best defense that nobody else is going to make a fundamentally better product is to spend every single minute we have when I'm not at stage at LeWeb, what I'm doing is trying to make the best possible product. So if Google or anyone else, who are great partners of ours, if any of them decides to make and is able to make a much better product that directly competes with Evernote, then they deserve to win, and they will, and the world will be a better place for it. But I think that's kind of unlikely to happen. I haven't actually seen it happening yet.
In the back, over there. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Christian Lindholm. I'm a big fan of Evernote.
Thank you.
And I like all of what you do, particularly this multi-phase cloud service strategy. And as you're heading towards the Memex, you know, the Vannevar Bush 1945 vision of the machine that remembers everything, when will we see Evernote photos?
So we're actually working on making the photo experience much better in Evernote. We hadn't focused on that in the past. It was we specifically didn't want to be a photo sharing site because there's so many really good ones. So we wanted to use Evernote to store all of your informational documents and pictures. So photos, but photos like of your receipts and business cards, not necessarily vacation photos. But then with food and with some new products that we have coming out, we are getting much more away from just productivity and more into lifestyle, more into kind of the augmented lifestyle, and that will include photos, although probably not as a general purpose photo sharing site, because there is a lot of those, but for specific beautiful and information-rich aspects of your life, we will provide for you a way to have the best possible memories, and that'll include food, and it'll include a few other things or in the next couple of months, and that'll include photos and web clips and videos and all of the ways through which you experience these portions of your life.
Next question. Any question? Yes, right here in front. Sorry, you guys on YouTube, you can't ask questions yet. We'll fix that.
Hi, Phil. So last night at the Evernote meetup, you talked a little more about the whole idea of like generational archiving. Can you talk a little more about that? You said that Evernote had actually started something, or if it was a concept or not, but just a little more about that and your inspiration around that.
Yeah, so we've talked about wanting to build a 100-year company, and that's the goal, right? We want to build a company. From the beginning, we said at Evernote, the difference between Evernote and the previous two companies that we made is we only make the products that we want to use. So we don't. At our previous two companies, we always have to think about, well, what does the market want? What do customers want? And finally, we said, we don't care what customers want. We don't care what the market wants. How about just what do we want? So we only make what we want to use, and we make the company that we want to keep. So we were trying to make a company that we'll never sell, that we'll keep, and make the products that we want. And so the goal is to be a 100-year startup. And we're asking people to sort of trust us with 100 years of their lifetime memories. So we are working on a project, code name right now is Evernote Century, it might change before we actually launch it, that will actually be a way for you to have guaranteed access and storage to either your entire account or to selected portions of your Evernote account for 100 years, and give a way for you to designate which other people would be able to see it and access it and all that kind of stuff. So we've got kind of two efforts in parallel. We're doing some work on a cool new product that hopefully will let you live another 100 years, although that's more experimental, may not pan out. But failing that, we'll at least have all your data safe for 100 years, and you can designate who gets to see it. So we are taking that stuff very seriously.
Last question. I'll have one if you don't. Yes, all the way in the back over there.
Hi, my name's Pete. I have two questions, actually, if you'll allow them. The first is...
yeah, you're in the dark. Can you come here as you talk?
Oh,
very
sorry.
Good. Stop. Perfect. Thank you.
Just hit?
Yes, we can see you then. Don't move. Thank you.
The first question is, what do you do with customers that pay you but are no longer engaged, that, if you will, in your own language, have fallen out of love with the service? Do you worry about them paying you without using the product?
Customers that pay us but don't use any resources are our favorite customers. There's very few of them, actually, happily. So we have very high engagement rate for paying customers. And we do, all of our messaging is based around engagement. So even if you're paying us and we haven't seen you use anything for a while, we try to reach back out. We remind people that they haven't used it. We really try to generate that engagement. So we think this idea that someone could be signed up and they forgot that they're signed up, and so they're just being charged but they're not using it, that's a very kind of short-term potential benefit for the company. Like in the long run, that'll come back and bite us in the ass if we really try to optimize for that. So we really look at, it's totally separate who's using it, and how much you're using it, and we really try to increase that. And we do not have a function in the company to try to increase payment. So everything right now is geared toward making a better product that people will use more, not so much figuring out how to make more money on it, because we really have this long-term approach to revenue where we think if we can get you to stay and keep using Evernote every day, then you become exponentially more and more valuable to us over time.
Thank you. And my second question should be very quick. Did you build all the platform that you have to gather the data and analyze all this data yourself in-house, or do you use third-party services for it?
It's almost all in-house at this point. We are experimenting with a few third-party solutions, but we have very strict privacy rules at Evernote. So everything you put into Evernote is private. It's your data, and we don't monetize your data in any way. So we're not we have 34 million users. We don't have a big data problem. We have 34 million small data problems. So we try to be very smart about your particular data for your benefit, but we don't do any cross-analysis or we don't share it or sell it to anyone else. And so because of that, we are limited to what kind of third-party tracking we use, because some of them, frankly, are kind of questionable. You don't know what they're using with your data once you give it to them. So we've tended to roll all of our stuff ourselves. And where we do use third-party ones, it's ones where we're pretty sure we understand what their data policies are.
Thank you. We're out of time for questions, but Phil, you're here, right? And you have space as well where we can meet you.
Yeah, I'm around. I'm around for the next couple of days, and we have a room somewhere.
Yeah, I'll show you. It's signed
Looking
if
forward
you want
to seeing
meet
it.
Phil, but Phil is the most accessible CEO, especially with such
I'd
success.
love to. Yeah, I'd love to talk to anyone. So come by and find me, and I'm just Phil@evernote.com. An email if anyone has.
For those of you on YouTube, Phil@evernote.com.
Yeah,
That's
questions.
easy.
And congratulations on your triumphant launch in London. It's pretty amazing.
For LeWeb, you mean?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, we're not done yet. Let's see how this goes.
Well,
through,
so
but
far so good, and I love that it's it's in London, but it's still LeWeb. That's very cool.
It looks like LeWeb. Yeah, it does. Well, I really appreciate you're here. Anything you'd like to add, Phil, before we go to Facebook?
I think that right now is the best time in the history of the world to start a meaningful and enduring technology company. I think there's a lot of ups and downs, and there's a lot of bad macro news. But when I actually think about it, when I say is there a period if I had a time machine, what would I do? Well, if I had a time machine, first thing I'd do is I would totally stop working at Evernote because I'd have a time machine. I would only work at the time machine. It'd be so cool. But if I could go back in time and give advice to a younger, thinner version of me when I was starting my first company, I would say, make Evernote your first company. Build for yourself right from the beginning. So instead of making bank software and e-commerce software, which I didn't know anything about, I should have just been making something just for myself. Because right now, if you make a great product, you have a very high chance of succeeding. And if it's your first time around, your chances of making a great product for somebody other than you is tiny. How could I have possibly made a great product for banks when I'm not a bank? But for Evernote, I know it can be a great product because I can feel when it's great or not. So I guess my biggest advice is just build something you love, and if you make it great for yourself, chances are there's another billion people that will also love it, and because of the way the world is set up right now, that billion people can download it and start using it and start paying you the next day.
And I think we can feel that you love what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Phil. Thank you very much for coming here, and we'll see you around.
Thank you.